Tell you about my friends at Trifecta Therapeutics, the premier sports rehab and performance center. It's located very centrally to my voice right now in Glassboro, New Jersey, the 8 South Jersey counties where you can hear my voice over in Delaware. The team at Trifecta Therapeutics has the only sports manual therapy fellowship trained doctor on staff in all of New Jersey. So, weekend warriors, finely tuned athletes, collegiate athletes, professional athletes. They help the pros and the Joes. Find out more about the incredible team at Trifecta Therapeutics in Glassboro and how they can help you. Visit them online at trifectatherapeutics.com. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. And you can watch the show live on our website, 97.3ESPN.com. Dr. Jeremy Boyd over at Trifecta is going to join me right now and give us a little bit more insight on this Joel Embiid injury, as, of course, we all saw it over the weekend. And, man, Doc, when we saw that happen, that video, when you saw that video, did you think the worst just looking at the video?
Hey, Mike. Yeah, it was definitely a scary injury. Anytime we see that loaded hyperextension kind of moment where that knee goes overly straight, we automatically think the worst. So it was definitely worrisome. Thankfully, Mike Evans of the Bucks kind of went through it a couple weeks ago, so there was a hope. But yeah, it was definitely scary when they go down grabbing their knee immediately. It's pretty worrisome.
Especially a man 7 foot, 280 pounds. I mean, the fact that he's that big of a man, seeing that, you're thinking the worst right off the bat. But the reports are no structural damage. He is diagnosed with a left knee bone bruise. So I guess if you hear that, you're just a common guy out there, bone bruise. That can't be too bad. Give us a little insight on that diagnosis.
Yeah, it definitely seems like not too bad. We all get bruises and everything like that, but if enough is done to the bone and it's bruised, we do get some bleeding into it. They didn't really describe which layer because the bone has multiple layers to it, but at whatever level it is more significant than it sounds. The body still has to heal through that and everything like that. And just to put things into perspective, in regards to the big scary thing, the ACL reconstruction or ACL tear, a lot of people have pain involving that, and actually what they kind of perceive, what causes most of that pain is actually the bone bruise. So it's more pain limiting than anything, but it's still something you have to work through and kind of do all your rehab and take good care of it.
So his ACL and meniscus are fine, according to sources, and a lot of relief around the Sixers. So what is a typical time frame when we're looking at this? Because if we remember, Joel had this injury his rookie season, and they had said, he'll be back, in a couple of weeks. He never returned that year. Now, that could have been, hey, we don't really want to get him back because we weren't really trying to win games. But there is some precedent that he had this injury before and never returned to the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of, patient dependent or, athlete dependent. We've seen, again, with Mike Evans, I believe he was out for 1 week. And I believe by the second week, going into the playoffs, when he had a similar hyperextension injury with a bone bruise, and he was back at it within, I believe, 2 weeks. So that's probably the earliest it'll be. It's a little different for Joel there, being that he's such a compression sport athlete. He jumps, he lands, does a ton of rebounding. So that's going to obviously influence and kind of poke that bruise a little bit more and more. So it's probably going to maybe take him a little bit longer. I would say, the fact that, they're having a good season, he's having an awesome year, definitely some motivations that can maybe kind of push things along. He's gone through the paces before this. So hopefully it's only a couple weeks and not, taking him out for, a month plus.
Yeah.
But it really kind of depends on him.
Now, they're going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks. Dr. Jeremy Boyd from Trifecta Therapeutics in Glassboro is with me. They're going to reevaluate him in 2 weeks. If somebody has a bone bruise, they came to you, and what would you be looking in that second, in that 2 weeks that would make you feel like, okay, you're on the right path?
Main thing is, making sure we get, full range of motion of that knee, because again, it's more pain dominant than anything. So it can limit how much you can bend or straighten that knee. making sure it didn't have any trauma to the muscles surrounding it. So he has full strength equal to the other side. So there's some testing, especially at the high-level sports rehab scenes, where we can test and see how much strength has returned. And, ultimately just confidence. With our athletes, we want to make sure they're fully ready, both physically and mentally. So if he feels like he's strong, he can play on it. They've done some return to sports stuff, got him jumping and landing and rebounding. That's what we'd be hoping for. That would be like ideal. He's ready to rock and roll after 2 weeks.
Is this an injury that could lead to, something, if your knee's weaker, do you have to worry if you come back too early, or if there's something, does it weaken the ligaments, the ACL, the MCL, or is that something that is completely separate from, just having the bone bruise? Or is that not known because you don't know the area of the bone of where that's actually bruised?
Yeah, by statistics alone, we can assume if we look at our ACL studies, most of the bone bruises happen on the lateral side or the outside of the knee, mostly on the femoral, like the femur, and also on the tibial plateau. So just statistically speaking, that's where most of those kind of bone bruises happen. Is it, directly related to those ligaments? No, not so much, but if you imagine if it was enough to bruise a bone and hyperextend the knee, and that's when a lot of those ACL injuries happen, it probably puts some degree of strain on it. And anytime we know when an athlete goes back before they're fully ready, it does put them at risk for injuries. A common one we think of is RG3, when he, I believe he tore or sprained his LCL in that, Washington football game. And then and the team decided, hey, he's ready to go back the next week. He ended up tearing his ACL, and let's be honest, his career has never been the same. So, everybody's, a little bit different. Main thing is, confidence and, looking at both sides, making sure things are pretty equal. That's how we know we can prevent those sort of things.
Well, that's good to hear because that MRI revealed no structural damage to the knee, feeling of relief. 2 weeks he will be reevaluated, and we'll see what ends up happening with Joel Embiid. And as Dr. Jeremy Boyd just said there, you don't have to worry too much, it sounds like, that, hey, because of this injury, that it could lead to other injuries. Because if you remember about a month ago, he had a night where he kind of hyperextended his knee, and he ended up coming back in that game. So, we know Embiid's had a lot of injury issues in the past, but it seems that, that knee has held up pretty good because he has had a couple of times where he's had that hyperextension look, and he's made it out. And, man, when that happened on, what was that, Friday night, it looked for sure like it was going to be some bad news.
Yeah, and the main thing is, I guess at this point is hopefully work towards, prevention of things. We got to remember, I think Joel started playing when he was, 15, and he's in his, mid to late 20s now, working towards, maybe some landing mechanics and those sort of things. And, I guess he's still young kind of in the game of basketball, which is surprising how amazing he is. But, that would be the next thing is, we want to try and prevent these things from keep happening to him, because it takes this one little bit more pressure, and then, you have a much more serious injury. And hopefully that never happens to him, because he's such an amazing player.
He's a lot of fun to watch. It's been a lot of fun to watch him, and hopefully, from talking to you and just seeing what's out there, it sounds like he should be back and ready to go in a couple of weeks here. When he limped into the locker room, he got the MRI, and it all came out good early on Saturday morning. We found that out. Dr. Jeremy Boyd, Trifecta Therapeutics, are located in Glassboro. If you are anybody from a Joel Embiid level player down to someone like you out there listening, and you guys have injuries and you need to get a look at, Dr. Jeremy Boyd and the great team at Trifecta Therapeutics can make that happen for you. So sounds like Joel should be good to go. Doc, we appreciate a couple of minutes in explaining that better for us.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, Mike.
Absolutely. It's Dr. Jeremy Boyd from Trifecta Therapeutics in Glassboro giving us a little lowdown